Three heads, old, young. Two tails, one head, young yang. Three tails, old yin. Three heads, old yang. Two tails, one head, young yang. Three heads, old yang. The bottom or inner trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as solid, solid, broken. This is the trigram. Dewy, lake or marsh. Dewy is lake and marsh, abundant energy that teems with life. She is the impulse to communicate, share, and exchange, and delights in both inner and outer conversation. She brings things into circulation and gives them voice. This is the sheer enjoyment of participating in life to the full, expressing ourselves and hearing others, and satisfying our desires. Lake is the youngest daughter, spirit of the fertile west and of autumn. Our top or outer trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as solid, solid, solid. This is Qian heaven. Qian is suprahuman cosmic law. Enduring, he determines the nature and development of all things, from the movement of the stars to the cycle of the seasons, to causing each individual seed to grow into its own kind of plant. Heaven is creativity in its pure form, the force that drives change in what endures within it. He confronts us with truth in what it demands, both as the absolute law of nature and as the challenge of individual calling, experienced as an inner law. He is both the awareness of what to do and how to be, and also the power to act on it. Heaven is Father, found in the northwest, the realm between autumn and winter, when the buds set and the seeds fall to earth. Qian heaven above dewy lake or marsh give us the hexagram 10. The bottom trigram of our supporting hexagram, once our first and third lines transform from their old versions to their young opposites, old yang will transform to young yin, old yin will transform to young yang, giving us a bottom trigram of broken, solid, solid. This is the trigram. Xun, wind or wood. Xun is both wind and living plants, whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, shaping itself to the space available or shaping that space to its own nature. She is responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting. Like the wind, she can always find a way through because she never creates any resistance, and so her influence is subtle and gradual, but far-reaching. In the family of trigrams, Xun is the eldest daughter, gentle and submissive. She belongs to the southeast and to late spring and early summer. And our top or outer trigram of our supporting hexagram will be read as broken, solid, broken, once our old yangs transform to young yins. This is Khan water. Khan is deep water, flowing and formless. He is the complement of Li, which is fire and light, dark where Li is bright, unconscious to her sharp lucidity, and represents a more fluid, intuitive, and emotional way of perceiving. This is danger, exposure, and solitude, and the need to respond with courageous self-reliance when confronted by the haunting unknown. Water is the middle sun, situated in the north, associated with midwinter and midnight. Khan water above Xun, wind or wood, give us the supporting hexagram of 48. We will get the titles to our hexagrams from I-ming's Taoist I Ching, which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. And it is quite alchemical in nature. Our primary hexagram 10, I-ming calls treading. Progress, advance of the positive, prevention of danger by caution, empowerment by calmness and trust. And our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all, is hexagram 48, the well. Accumulation of effort to cultivate character, nurturance of others. Wow. We will start by reading from Hilary Barrett's I Ching, Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future. It's a nice introductory I Ching commentary that is still quite profound. Our primary hexagram 10, Hilary Barrett calls treading. Here's this tiger. Key questions. Where is the tiger? Do you know how to work with such power? Oracle. Treading a tiger's tail, it does not bite people, creating success. There are tigers in the outer world and also inner tigers. As you get close, it's good to recognize the tiger for what it is. Quick pause. When we approach the I Ching to consult the oracle, the question we bring to it is always going to have the general context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time. Treading the tiger's tail is perilous. Yet if you can move in harmony with it, you can invite its power into your own life as protection, fertility, and blessing. To do this without getting bitten requires both skill and care. Look to the power and intensity you are drawn to in the situation. Its specific danger is there, and also its potential gift. Image. Heaven above, lake below, treading. A noble one differentiates above and below and makes a place for the people's aspiration. The depths of the sky are reflected in the lake as it dances below heaven. An awareness of other dimensions of reality enters inner dialogue, and this becomes aspiration. It's as natural for people to aspire as it is for the lake to reflect. By marking out the difference between above and below, a noble one shows there is a direction to travel and a distance to cross. This means differentiating the ideal you aspire to from your step-by-step progress as you follow it. Sequence. Treading follows from hexagram 9, small taming. Things are tamed, and then there are the rituals, and so treading follows. First, you learn the rules for working with great power, inwardly or outwardly, and then you can move with it more freely and harmoniously. Our supporting hexagram puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Hexagram 48, the well. Key questions. What is the ever-present resource you draw from? What can you do to realize its potential here? Oracle. The well. Moving the city, not moving the well. Without loss, without gain. They come and go, the well wells. Almost drawn the water, but the rope does not quite reach the water. Or breaking one's clay jug, pitfall. The people of ancient China would sometimes move a whole city to a more favorable site, and they could take everything with them except the well. You can transplant your center and change everything about your life, except for the source you draw on to sustain it all. You cannot own this source, nor carry it with you. Whenever you move, you will need first of all to dig a new well to reach it. The well itself is utterly dependable. Nothing anyone can do will raise or lower the water level. People and experiences come and go, time passes. The well is always the well and does not change. You need never doubt that you have these resources or that they are enough. The real question is whether you have the means to reach into such depths and a steady hand to bring up the water up into the real world without loss. To fail would be disastrous. The potential in the situation is undeniable, but it may still be a long way from realization. Image. Above the wood is the stream, the well. A noble one toils with the people, encouraging them to help one another. If you could lean over an old Chinese well and look down through the water, you would see a frame of logs at the bottom, used to retain the silty soil as it was dug. The noble one is as committed and involved in the well as the frame itself, inwardly as responsive as roots, outwardly pouring himself into the work like a flowing stream. The well is a vital shared resource. Everyone must cooperate to build and maintain it. Sequence. The well follows from hexagram 47, confined. Confined in reaching upward naturally means turning inward, and so the well follows. When you cannot reach upward and outward, you turn instead towards an inner source. The clear, life-giving water of the well is only to be found at the bottom of a very deep, dark pit. We'll now read our changing lines, which put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements and are the most focused part of the reading. Our changing lines are 1, 3, 4, and 6. Each has its own general context. The changing line 1 has the general context, inklings, just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. Changing line 3 has the general context, an emerging identity, facing a transition, with fear or desire, resolution or indecision. Changing line 4, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. And changing line 6, beyond the main action, reviewing experience, asking what comes next. Primary hexagram 10, treading, changing line 1. Plain treading going on, no mistake. What can you do when you realize you're not where you want to be? Simple. You move on, following your desire, lightly and responsively and without fuss. There's no way to control everything or to plan it all in advance. No need to wrestle with the tiger just because it's there. You can only take one step at a time, so what is your simplest next step? Changing line 3, with one eye can see, lame can walk, treads on the tiger's tail, it bites him, pitfall. Soldier acting as a great leader. When walking with tigers, making do with capacities that are good enough is not a good strategy. Here is someone who can see, but not the whole picture, and can move forward, but not in balance. This is like a soldier who lacks the capacity to lead, but who feels he must step up and take charge nonetheless. Bravery doesn't blunt the tiger's teeth. Obviously, not each and every line is going to relate or have 100% agreement with every other one, and so we'll just see what that might mean in our own lives. Line 4, treading the tiger's tail, pleading, good fortune in the end. This is the moment when you are closest to the danger, and the moment when you can receive the tiger's gift. Tread extremely carefully, but be true. Ask for what you know you need. Such a path is lonely and dangerous. When you make your needs explicit, you become completely vulnerable. Yet this is the way to enter into a true relationship with the tiger. And so in the long run, it will bring good fortune. Unchanging, line 6. Observing the footsteps, blessings from the ancestors. They come full circle, good fortune from the source. Looking back over the tiger's path through your life, or perhaps it is your own path, is like a form of divination. Reading the footprints left by visiting animals. By looking at this track record, you open up to a larger communication where you can perceive the shape and meaning of what has gone before. When you can see the footprints coming full circle, a completed pattern, and also the image of an endless cycle of communication, then their presence becomes a blessing. We will also read I-ming's Taoist I Ching, which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept, and it is quite alchemical in nature. Hexagram 10, treading. Even when they tread on a tiger's tail, it doesn't bite people. This is developmental. Explanation. Treading means forward progress. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is heaven, strong, and below is lake, joyous. Yin is rejoicing in yang. With the advance of one yin, the hexagram will change into pure yang. Representing this, it is therefore called treading. This hexagram symbolizes progression of yang and prevention of danger. It follows on the preceding hexagram's accord. In accord, yin follows yang. But if you want yin to follow, it is necessary first to advance yang. When the progression of yang reaches proper balance, yin naturally follows it. This is the appropriate priority of the path of advancing yang. The true yang in people is inherent and need not be sought from another. When it mixes with acquired conditioning, true feeling is obscured and arbitrary feelings arise. Then true yang runs away outside. This is likened to a tiger running off and staying elsewhere as a member of another house. Though it is in another house, originally the tiger is one's own. It is just that people are not willing to call it back. The way of calling it back is not sought in heaven or earth, or fire or water, but only in lake. Lake as the youngest daughter, it's got a little star there. At the bottom it says, in the so-called temporal arrangement of the trigrams are associated with members of a family. Heaven is father, earth is mother, thunder is eldest son, wind is eldest daughter, water is middle son, fire is middle daughter, mountain is youngest son, and lake is youngest daughter. Lake, as the youngest daughter, travels the path of receptive submission in place of Mother Earth, and is able to revert to yang by the culmination of yin. Its nature is harmonious and joyous. Being harmonious, it can relax. Being joyous, it can trust. Being relaxed, it can go gradually. Trusting, it can endure long. Able to relax and trust, powerful practice, unrelenting, it is thereby possible to advance to the stage of indestructible firmness and strength, to again see the original face of heaven, and not be injured by false yin and false yang. This is likened to treading on a tiger's tail without its biting people, and having a way of development and growth. A tiger is something that bites people. It is most dangerous to tread on it. If one can tread with harmony and joyfulness without excessive ferocity, it is like treading on a tiger's tail. If one is careful, as if treading on a tiger's tail, looking ahead and behind, striking a balance without obsession or indifference, proceeding gradually in an orderly manner, forestalling danger, aware of perils, carrying out the firing process without error, then the yin can be transmuted into yang, and the yang can be restored to purity. Not only is one not bitten by the tiger, one can even take over the living energy in its killing and preserve life and being whole. This path of development and achievement without obstruction or hindrance through advancement of yang, treading strongly with harmony and joy, is of great benefit. And our supporting hexagram 48, the well, puts our primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. The well, changing the village, not changing the well. No loss, no gain. Those who come and go use the well as a well. If the rope does not reach all the way into the well, or if the bucket breaks, that is unfortunate. Explanation. A well is water with a source, which nourishes people inexhaustibly. It has the meaning of nurturance, development. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is water, dangerous, and below is wind, penetrating. Gradually progressing so as to get through danger, though there is danger, one can get out of it. As wood plunged in water emerges from the water, therefore this hexagram is called the well. This hexagram represents accumulation of effort to cultivate virtue. It follows on the previous hexagram, rising. Rising means harmonious progress and practice, a way to increase spiritual virtue. When spiritual virtue increases and one has accordingly advanced to the state where there is no difficulty or danger, the basis is firm and stable. Free from danger oneself, one can then resolve others' problems. With this, one accumulates achievement and cultivates virtue, using what one has developed oneself to nurture others' development. Genuine within, this genuineness reaches out, so there is benefit to others and no harm to self. This is like a well. Changing the village doesn't change the well. No loss, no gain. Passers-by use the well as a well. When the self-development of practitioners of Tao is sufficient, this is like a well having water in it. To develop others after having developed oneself is like changing the village. To develop others by one's own development is like not changing the well. Development of others must be based on self-development. As is self-development, so is development of others. This is like a well having no loss, no gain. Developing others by self-development, others and self are both nurtured. This is like those who come and go using the well as a well. If one insists on trying to teach people before one has attained the Tao oneself, this is called lacking the basis. Development without the basis lacks inward mastery. Arbitrarily used, it creates confusion, and without having helped anyone else, one first loses oneself. This is like trying to get water from a well, but the rope does not reach all the way, or the well water breaks the bucket. One brings misfortune on oneself. This is because the business of guiding others comes after the completion of the great path. When the path is completed, mind and body are autonomous. Based on previous realization to enlighten others, one can thus benefit others and not harm oneself. Therefore, the main theme in each of the 6 lines is self-development. We'll now turn and look at our changing lines 1, 3, 4, and 6, which put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They're the most specific part of the reading, and they take precedence over all other elements. Changing line 1 has the general context, inklings just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. Changing line 2 has the general context, an emerging identity, facing a transition, with fear or desire, resolution or indecision. Changing line 4, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. And changing line 6, beyond the main action, reviewing experience, asking what comes next. I just screenshot this. So changing line 1 in our primary hexagram 10 treading. Whoops, I already read it out of that one. Changing line 1 in hexagram 10 treading. Treading plainly, going without fault. Explanation. Those with strength of mind and robust energy, who are plain and sincere in treading the path, are able to tread it with confidence in their steps. If they proceed in this way, they will surely progress to where there is no fault. This is treading with firmness of purpose. Changing line 3. Able to see with a squint, able to walk with a limp. When they tread on the tiger's tail, it bites people. Inauspicious. A soldier becomes a ruler. Explanation. If one goes on the path impetuously, acting on one's own in ignorance, not knowing the medicinal substances, not understanding the firing process, thinking ignorance to be knowledge, thinking incapacity to be ability, that is like seeing with a squint, walking with a limp. Treading on the tiger's tail, it will bite. One calls misfortune on oneself. This is also like a soldier becoming a ruler, bringing on disaster. This is treading the path ignorantly on one's own. Changing line 4, treading on the tail of the tiger, with caution it will turn out well. Explanation. Being firm but not impetuous, truthfully clear-minded, flexible in action, forestalling danger, aware of perils, is like treading on a tiger's tail with caution, wary and careful. Not only can the tiger not bite, one will eventually tread on the ground of pure yang and attain felicity. This is treading the path with both firmness and flexibility. And changing line 6. Observing the treading, considering what is felicitous, the return is auspicious. Explanation. Here, yang is in the position of flexibility. Observing the firing process, trodden, considering the balance of gravity and energy in the medicinal substances, proceeding in an orderly manner, completing the cycle from start to finish, completing the beginning by the end, one aims to reach the merging of yin and yang in complete original wholeness. This is treading the path, consummating the beginning and completing the end. So the path of advancing yang requires flexibility within firmness and firmness within flexibility. It is important that firmness and flexibility balance each other, and one neither rushes nor lags, but is harmonious, joyous, equanimous, and serene. Equanimous and serene. We will also look at the commentary section of each of our hexagrams, which I often find to be a little bit more alchemical. I need more alchemical. Hexagram 10, treading. Heaven above, lake below. Above is the sky, below is a lake, treading. Thus do superior people distinguish above and below, and settle the will of the people. Treading means progressive ascent. Above is heaven, below is lake. The sky covers the lake. The lake looks up to the sky. So above and below have fixed positions which cannot be mixed up. This is the image of treading. What superior people see in this is that the metaphysical is called the Tao, and the physical is called the vessel. There is a distinction between the greater and lesser, a difference between the noble and the base. The higher is not to be considered lower, and the lower is not to be considered higher. The greater is not to be considered lesser, the lesser is not to be considered greater. The noble is not to be considered base, the base is not to be considered noble. This is whereby to distinguish above and below and settle the will of the people, not allowing transgression through false ideas. The celestial is the ruler, this is higher, above. The earthly is the citizenry, this is lower, below. When one can distinguish the higher and lower, then right and wrong, sanity and aberration are clear. Just to make it clear, also the ruler is the fifth line in the hexagram stack, and it represents the self or the higher self, whereas the second line represents the ego, essentially, that kind of an idea. So the ruler versus the citizenry would just be, our higher self versus our ego, or lower drives, I suppose. The celestial is the ruler, this is higher, above. The earthly is the citizenry, this is lower, below. When one can distinguish the higher and lower, then right and wrong, sanity and aberration are clear. Not doing anything inappropriate, sustaining the celestial and controlling the earthly, cultivating the real and dissolving the false, thoughts not arising inwardly, external things not entering the mind. Myriad things are all empty of absoluteness, and all mundane feelings involved with objects are settled. In the body of the hexagram, lake is the mundane, representing arbitrary feelings. Heaven is the celestial, representing true sense. When the mundane treads under the celestial and the celestial treads on top of the mundane, then arbitrary feelings do not arise and true sense is always present. True sense is unemotional sense. Using unemotional sense to control feelings is like a cat catching a mouse, like boiling water being poured on snow. In a short time, calamity turns to fortune. The will of the people is settled, and there is nothing to thwart the Tao. Then one gradually puts into practice the pure, unadulterated vitality of firm strength and proper balance. But settling the will of the people is all a matter of being able to distinguish the higher and the lower. The stability attained will be in proportion to the degree to which this distinction is successfully made. If there is any lack of clarity in this distinction, there will be that much instability. Therefore, the sage's science of fulfillment of nature in comprehension of life requires thorough investigation of principle as the first step. And hexagram 48, the well, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. The well, water above, wind below. There's water above wood, a well. Thus do superior people comfort the people and urge reciprocity. The well has the meaning of nourishing people. Above is water, below is wind, associated with wood. There is water above wood. When water rises above wood, the wood is moistened and becomes pliable, being nurtured by the water. This is the image of the well. What superior people see in this is that the people must be nourished, and when they are nourished, they must be educated. Therefore, they teach them to work so as to have plenty of food and warm clothing, so as to nourish their bodies, and teach them to know courtesy and understand duty, to get along in harmony and help each other, so as to nourish their minds. When body and mind are both nourished, people return to pristine simplicity and purity, forget their travail, become unified, and enter the realm of unconscious obedience to the laws of God. The human body is the country, the human spirit is the people. To order the spirit and carry out the Tao day and night is to comfort the people. To take to good, correct faults, get rid of falsehood and keep truth, combine vitality, energy, and spirit, and join the earthly to the celestial. This is urging reciprocity. This kind of comfort is that whereby one forgets falsehood. This kind of urging is that whereby one cultivates reality. When falsehood leaves and reality remains, the path of nourishment is consummated. We will look next at James Dekorne's Gnostic Book of Changes, which I've left links to in the description box below. You can go take a look at that. He was not able to publish it, not sure exactly why, but he's left it all there as a PDF for people can look at. Hexagram 10. He is a practitioner of the Tao himself, and what it is essentially is a synthesis of several different of the kind of, I would say, top or main I-ming commentaries, scholarly. And he also leaves his own helpful editor's notes throughout, and notes and paraphrases at the end as well, and where he sums it all up. And he often puts quotes in from C.G. Jung and things like the Kabbalah. He calls Hexagram 10 Cautious Advance. Other titles might be Treading, Conduct, the symbol of stepping carefully, Proper Conduct, Cautious Treading, Proceeding Cautiously, Watch Your Step, Proceed at Your Own Risk, Advancing with Care. A quote from D.F. Hook illustrates the difference between courage and foolhardiness. Judgment Leg. Cautious advance suggests the idea of one treading on the tail of a tiger, which does not bite him. There will be progress and success. Wilhelm/Bain's treading upon the tail of the tiger. It does not bite the man, success. For the weak to take a stand against the strong is not dangerous here, because it happens in good humor and without presumption, so that the strong man is not irritated but takes it all in good part. Such simplicity and unpretentiousness is faith derived from reality, neither from love of happiness nor fear of unhappiness, but free of fear and hope. The concern here is with the art of action by means of proper conduct, and presupposes being childlike in its highest sense. Blofeld. Though he treads upon the tiger's tail, it does not bite him. Success. The general idea of this hexagram is that success can be won, but that the situation is dangerous enough to require extreme caution. The tiger may not bite, but on the other hand, as lines 3 and 5 demonstrate, we cannot be certain of this. To consort with rulers and people in high places may be most beneficial, but should we fail to please, they may make us regret our temerity. Lu, treading, stepping on the tail of a tiger, but it does not bite one. Success. You should act only after you have planned carefully, and then with resolution. Ritsuma/Karcher, treading a tiger tail, not snapping at people, growing. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of finding and making your way. It emphasizes that doing this step by step is the adequate way to handle it. The image, leg. The image of the sky above and below it the waters of a marsh form cautious advance. The superior man, in accordance with this, discriminates between high and low and gives settlement to the aims of the people. Wilhelm/Baines, heaven above and lake below, the image of treading. Thus, the superior man discriminates between high and low and thereby fortifies the thinking of the people. Thus, the superior man creates in society the differences in rank that correspond with differences in natural endowment, and in this way fortifies the thinking of the people, who are reassured when these differences accord with nature. We see a universe moved from within, without external manipulation. Since the universe is also within the human being, internal universal order leads to order without by the force of necessary differentiation. Cf. The ideal society in Plato's Republic. Blofeld, this hexagram symbolizes a body of water lying open to the sky. The superior man consults both high and low and thereby steadies the people's will. Lu, the heaven above and the lake below symbolize treading. The superior man differentiates between high and low and thus fixes the minds of the people. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. In cautious advance, we have the symbol of weakness treading on that of strength. The lower trigram indicates pleasure and satisfaction and responds to the upper indicating strength. Hence it is said, he treads on the tail of a tiger. The fifth line is dynamic in the center and in his correct place. He occupies the God-given position and falls into no distress or failure. His action will be brilliant. Leg. Cautious advance is made up of the lower trigram of pleased satisfaction or naivete and the upper trigram of heaven or primal power. Being situated between the great symbol of strength, naivete is seen to be stepping on a tiger's tail. To emerge unscathed from such a danger depends entirely upon propriety and a strict observance of all the rules of correct behavior. On these, as so many stepping stones, one may tread safely amid scenes of disorder and peril. The symbol of weakness, according to Wang Shentzu, is the third line, which is urged on by the two lines below it to encounter the three strong lines above. Other commentators say that the whole lower trigram, partaking of the yin nature, is the symbol of weakness, and the entire upper trigram is symbolic of strength. The Chen Chung editors say that to get the full meaning, we must hold both views. Cheng Su says the image, the sky above and a marsh lying below it, is true in nature and reason, and so should be the rules of propriety on which men tread. Notes and paraphrases, judgment. A cautious advance in the face of potentially volatile conditions will lead to safety. The superior man orders his priorities realistically and gets a grip on himself. Cautious advance depicts the lower trigram of the joyful youngest daughter stepping on the heels of the upper trigram of heaven, the stern pater familias, Yahweh Sabaoth or Zeus with his thunderbolt. In her innocence, she doesn't realize the danger of her action. This is treading on the tail of the tiger, and the hexagram teaches us how to do this without being bitten. The original judgment suggests that superior powers realize the innocent intent of the action and may be inclined to be lenient. A quote from Gothi. You should not resist fate, nor need you escape it. If you go to meet it, it will guide you pleasantly. Wilhelm's notes on the image illustrate the undemocratic truth that although all men are created equal in the eyes of God, every human being possesses clearly differentiated strengths, weaknesses, talents, and incapacities. In lectures on the I Ching, he says, the secret of proper conduct is in inequality. Uniformity alone cannot give rise to proper conduct. To be sure, uniformity might produce rule and regulation or law and force, but tedious force and brutal law never led people to convictions that legitimately resulted in proper conduct. The term includes that which produces proper conduct and proper conduct achieved. Instead, as Confucius said, force produces only alienation, and people transgress secretly that which is public regulation. Cautious advance often images a test situation, or it can be a warning that you are walking on the edge of a precipice. The image of the Fool in the tarot deck has similar associations. Without changing lines, this hexagram implies a need for extreme caution, or that your actions are tempting fate. A quote from J. Blofeld in the Tantric Mysticism of Tibet. The passions, instead of having to be painfully exterminated, are yoked like snarling tigers to the adept's carriage. The dangers of such a course are obvious. As one of my Lama teachers put it, while you were traveling in that cart, a tumble would have done you little harm. Now I have given you an airplane. Don't crash in flames. Thanks, James. Well put. Supporting hexagram 48, the well, puts our primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. James Dekorne also calls it the well. Other titles might be welling, potentialities fulfilled, the source, the deep psyche. A quote from D.F. Hook, a resurrection or transformation, generations coming and going, and the continuance of life and development. Judgment leg. Although a town site may be altered, the well remains the same. Its water level neither disappears nor receives any great increase, and the people can draw from it freely. Misfortune ensues if the rope breaks or the bucket is broken before it reaches the water. Wilhelm/Bain's The Well. The town may be changed, but the well cannot be changed. It neither decreases nor increases. They come and go and draw from the well. If one gets down almost to the water and the rope does not go all the way, or the jug breaks, it brings misfortune. Blofeld, The Well. A city may be moved, but not a well. The building of a city depends upon ourselves, but wells cannot be moved to places where nature supplies no water. The implication is that our activities are limited by natural conditions. A well suffers from no decrease and no increase, but often when the people come to draw water there, the rope is too short or the pitcher gets broken before reaching the water, misfortune. What we desire is there for the taking, but we may not succeed in getting it. Ritzema/Karcher, The Well, amending the capital, not amending the well, without losing, without acquiring, going, coming, welling, muddy culmination, truly not yet the well, rope, well, ruining one's pitcher, pitfall. Say that 5 times fast. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of the life water coming from the depths that everyone may draw on. It emphasizes that maintaining access to this central source is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to go to the well. The image, leg. The image of water over wood forms the well. The superior man comforts the people and stimulates their mutual cooperation. Wilhelm/Bain's Water over wood, the image of the well. Thus the superior man encourages the people at their work and exhorts them to help one another. Blofeld, this hexagram symbolizes water over wood. The superior man encourages the people with advice and assistance. Clary 1, there is water above wood, the well. Thus do superior people comfort the people and encourage reciprocity. Wu, there is water above wood, this is the well. Thus the Chunsi, or chief son or superior person, encourages people to work for the good of the public and to help one another for a better life. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. Wood penetrates the water and raises it, giving the image of the well, which gives nourishment, yet is not exhausted. The dynamic central lines in the 2nd and 5th places indicate that the town site may change, but the well does not. If the rope does not reach the water, the well does not serve its purpose. A broken bucket brings about evil. Leg. The upper trigram represents water and the lower symbolizes wood, giving the image of a wooden bucket in the water of a well. What is said on this hexagram might be styled lessons to be learned from a well for the proper government of a country. A well is to its users what a government is to its subjects, and if rulers would only apply the ancient precepts of government to the present circumstances, they and their people would benefit greatly. In the judgment, we see the well remaining substantially the same through many changes of society, a dependable source of refreshment to its users. As the fashion of the well remains changeless, so do the principles of human nature and good government. The value of the well depends upon the water being drawn up and used, and so must the principles of good government be implemented. Anthony, this hexagram usually indicates that we have a hidden doubt or fear. We may secretly disbelieve our path. Notes and paraphrases, judgment. Amid the changes of life, the only constant is the psyche itself. To be alive is to draw upon its energy. The ego's challenge lies in the correct comprehension of its images. The superior man promotes the harmonious interplay of his thoughts and feelings, works on the integration of his complexes. A well is a universal symbol of a source of inner truth and is often associated with a place that is sacred to the gods. Quote from Genesis 26:25, there he built an altar and invoked the name of Yahweh. There he pitched his tent, and there Isaac's servants sank a well. A quote from Cardinal Nicholas of Cusa. From the first well, which is of animal nature and deep, the father drinks, together with his children and cattle. From the second, which is yet deeper and on the very margin of nature, there drink only the children of men, namely those whose reason has awakened and whom we call philosophers. From the third, the deepest of all, drink the sons of the All-Highest, whom we call gods and true theologians. Psychologically interpreted, a well symbolizes the continuously flowing unconscious psyche, the fountain of all awareness. In this hexagram, each line represents a level within the well, by extension suggesting a hierarchy of value in the unconscious. It is important to remember that not all of our inner images, intuitions, or impulses come from the self. Note that lines 1 through 4 all show the water of the well not being utilized for one reason or another. Only in lines 3, 5, and 6 is it actually available for use. A quote from Robert Asiagoli in Psychosynthesis. In some sensitive individuals, there is an awakening of parapsychological perceptions. They have visions, which they believe to be of exalted beings. They may hear voices or begin to write automatically, accepting the messages at their face value and obeying them unreservedly. The quality of such messages is very varied. Sometimes they contain fine teachings, but they should always be examined with much discrimination and sound judgment, and without being influenced by their uncommon origin or by any claim by their alleged transmitter. No validity should be attributed to messages containing definite orders and commanding blind obedience, and to those tending to exalt the personality of the recipient. The ego's point of view in relation to the well is from the outside looking in. the insights emerge from beneath the surface of awareness and can be held in the light of consciousness only if one's comprehension is able to contain them. If the bucket breaks, our understanding is unequal to our observation and the insights are lost. One might plausibly find the image for a cancer cure within one's psyche, but without a conscious frame of reference to acknowledge it, it would be unrecognized and lost. Those who closely monitor their dreams know that there is an endless outpouring of strange images within the psyche which might be of inestimable value if only we knew what they referred to. Wilhelm emphasizes the idea of nourishing the people, which psychologically means that the role of the ego is to facilitate the cooperation of intrapsychic forces. Another quote from Robert Osseagoli in Psychosynthesis. The solution lies rather along the lines of a harmonious integration of all drives into the total personality, first through the proper subordination and coordination, and then through the transformation and sublimation of the excessive or unused quota of energy. We will now turn to our changing lines, which put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements and are the most focused part of the reading. Each line has its own general context. The general context of line 1 is inklings, just beginning to sense what could be involved or needed. Line 3, an emerging identity, facing a transition with fear or desire, resolution or indecision. Line 4, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Line 6, beyond the main action, reviewing experience, asking what comes next. Hexagram 10, cautious advance or treading. James Dekorne, changing line 1, leg. The first line dynamic shows its subject treading his accustomed path. If he go forward, there will be no error. Wilhelm/Bain, simple conduct, progress without blame. Slofnacy, counter treading. In going, there is no trouble. Wu, treading ahead in a blind manner will be blameless. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. Singly and exclusively, he carries out his long-cherished wishes. Wilhelm/Baines, the progress of simple conduct follows in solitude its own bent. Blofeld, conducting ourselves with simplicity while advancing suggests the ability to realize our desires without aid from others. Ritzema/Karcher, solitarily moving desire indeed. Cleary 2, to go treading plainly means to carry out your vows alone. Wu, he is willing to go alone. Leg, line 1 is a dynamic line in a dynamic place, giving us the idea of activity, firmness, and correctness. One so characterized will act rightly. Notes and paraphrases. Su, at the outset, the man is in a subordinate position without social obligation. Progress will be attained without blame if he remains content with his simple accustomed path, making no demands upon others. Wing, use your most basic values of conduct in advancing toward your aim. Do not try to use others beyond maintaining friendly relations. Do not become obligated to others in your endeavors. Your position is low. Simplicity in your behavior will prevent mistakes and allow you to progress. Editor, Wilhelm's rendition of the Confucian commentary uses the word solitude, and Blofeld emphasizes the idea of progress without aid from others. The idea is that of walking one's path alone, heedless of the external opinions of others or of the autonomous clamor of our own inner complexes. It can sometimes take the meaning of mind your own business. A quote from Proverbs 4:25, let your eyes be fixed ahead, your gaze be straight before you. Let the path you tread be level and all your ways made firm. Turn neither to right nor to left. Keep your feet clear of evil. James Dekorne breaks changing line 1 down into 2 possible succinct definitions, A and B. A, stay on your accustomed path, and B, the situation is tricky, but if you proceed with business as usual, you can avoid trouble. Changing line 3. Leg. The third line magnetic shows a one-eyed man who thinks he can see, a lame man who thinks he can walk well, one who treads on the tail of the tiger and is bitten. All this indicates ill fortune. We have a mere bravo acting the part of a great ruler. Wilhelm/Baines. A one-eyed man is able to see, a lame man is able to tread. He treads on the tail of the tiger bites the man. Misfortune. Thus does a warrior act on behalf of his great prince. Blofeld. Though a man have but one eye, he can still see. Though he be lame, he can still walk. But he who treads upon the tiger's tail will get bitten. Disaster. Here, the significance of the line runs counter to the benign significance of the hexagram. In all such cases, it is the line which provides the main indication of what is going to happen with regard to the matter forming the subject of the inquiry. The warrior undertakes things for his lord. This is no time to stand up to our superiors. Tread on the tiger's tail. It is a time for obedience. Lu. A one-eyed man can see, a lame man can walk, but when they step on the tail of a tiger, the tiger will bite. Misfortune. The warrior conducts himself like a great prince. Cleary 2. The squint-eyed can see, the lame can walk. Treading on a tiger's tail, they get bitten, unfortunately. A military man becomes a civil leader. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. A one-eyed man who thinks he can see, he is not fit to see clearly. A lame man who thinks that he can tread well, one cannot walk along with him. The ill fortune of being bitten arises from the place not being the proper one for him. A mere bravo acting the part of a great ruler, this is owing to his aims being too violent. Confucius Wilhelm Baines. A one-eyed man is able to see, but not enough for clarity. A lame man is able to tread, but not enough to tread with others. The misfortune in the biting of the man is due to the fact that the place is not appropriate. Thus does a warrior act on behalf of his great prince because his will is firm. Confucius/Blofeld. The one-eyed man, this is very similar. All of these pretty close. Hold on. We'll read this last one and then it gets to notes and paraphrases. Leg. Line 3 is neither central nor in a magnetic place, which would be proper to it. But with the strength of will which the occupant of a dynamic place should possess, he goes forward with the evil results cited. The editors of the Imperial edition, in illustration of the closing sentence, refer to Analects 7, X. Notes and paraphrases. Sue. The man recklessly exposes himself to danger, which exceeds his powers of handling. He invites disaster thereby. Wing. You are not suited for the ambitiousness of your goals. Your powers are not adequate. Willfulness on your part could end in disaster. Such conduct is only for someone willing to throw himself away for a superior. Editor. The content here does not lend itself to the usual gender symbolism for a magnetic line. Leg and Wu's interpretation of the line and Confucian commentary differ conceptually from the other translators. For purposes of comparison, I have rendered all versions of the Confucian commentary more thoroughly than usual. As the only magnetic line in the hexagram, 3 is outclassed and overwhelmed, yet still serves the ruler. If this is the only changing line, the dynamic emerges with a corresponding line of, we see its subject as the superior man active and vigilant all the day, and in the evening still careful and apprehensive. The position is dangerous, but there will be no mistake. The image suggests a warrior who has only partial comprehension of a dangerous situation. His ability to serve his ruler is also impeded. Despite these handicaps, his devotion is such that he will expose himself to great danger in the service of his lord and suffer because of it. A quote from Yamamoto Tsunetomo in the Book of the Samurai. If one were to say in a word what the condition of being a samurai is, Its basis lies first in seriously devoting one's body and soul to his master. James Dekorne breaks changing line 3 down into 3 possible succinct definitions, A, B, and C. A, the image is one of inadequate strength or resources to deal with a superior force. Regardless, the confrontation seems to be mandated. Thus does the ego serve the self. B, serve the work with a warrior's spirit. Yours is not to reason why, yours is but to do or die. C, even when one's heart is in the right place, partial comprehension and insufficient ability can be expected to create distress. And then alternate. This line can also suggest foolhardy arrogance rather than blind obedience to a superior. In such instances, the familiar lady from Liger, Limerick, seems more appropriate. There was an old lady of Liger who went riding on the back of a tiger. They came back from the ride with the lady inside and a smile on the face of the tiger. And D, I guess he breaks it down into 4. So D is the 4th here. Incompetence plus arrogance equals disaster. Fake it till you make it, right? Maybe not with tigers involved. Changing line 4, leg. The 4th line dynamic shows its subject treading on the tail of a tiger. He becomes full of apprehensive caution, and in the end, there will be good fortune. Blowfold. To tread with impunity upon a tiger's tail, breathless caution is required. Good fortune in the end. This is an occasion for doing something dangerous, provided we are very cautious. Lu. He steps on the tail of a tiger. Caution and fearfulness. Good fortune in the end. Trouble or disaster threaten, and one must be very careful. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. His aim takes effect. Wilhelm/Baines. What is willed is done. Blowfold. The ruler's will is carried out. Ritsumo/Karcher. Purpose moving indeed. Clary 2. Utmost caution turning out lucky is determined action. Wu. With awe there will be auspiciousness in the end, because the aspiration will prevail. Leg. Line 4 is dynamic in a magnetic place just below the ruler in line 5. He recognizes his weak position and walks with care. Notes and paraphrases. Su. The man successfully undertakes dangerous enterprises by proceeding with caution and circumspection. Wing. You can now undertake even dangerous endeavors if you proceed with great caution. Editor. This is the first line of the upper trigram symbolizing the tiger's tail. The image depicts impeccable courage and willpower that conquers a dangerous situation. A quote from Jung in The Secret of the Golden Flower. The step to higher consciousness leads us out and away from all rear guard cover and from all safety measures. The individual must give himself to the new way completely, for it is only by means of his integrity that he can go further, and only his integrity can guarantee that his way does not turn out to be an absurd adventure. James Dekorne breaks changing line 4 down into 1 possible succinct definition. A. Proceed with caution. Discretion is the better part of valor. And changing line 6. Leg. The 6th line dynamic tells us to look at the whole course that is trodden and examine the presage which that gives. If it be complete and without failure, there will be good fortune. Wilhelm/Baines. Look to your conduct and weigh the favorable signs. When everything is fulfilled, supreme good fortune comes. Blowfold. If they watch their step or look to their conduct and heed the omens, sublime good fortune will be theirs. Lu. Observe your conduct and examine the signs carefully. There will be great good fortune. Ritsumo/Karcher. Observing, treading, predecessor auspicious, one's reoccurring, spring significant. Wu. Examination of the treading records gives a sense of completion. If errors in treading are avoided, there will be great fortune. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. This is a matter for congratulation. Wilhelm/Baines. The topmost place carries great blessing. Blowfold. The sublime good fortune presaged by this top line takes the form of immense felicity. Ritsuma/Karcher. The great possesses reward indeed. Clary too, there is much celebration. Woo, great joy. Leg. What is said of line 6 is good, but is only a truism. The whole course has been shown. If every step has been right and appropriate, the issue will be very good. Notes and paraphrases. Sue. The work is ended and the past course is reviewed. If it has been appropriate and thorough, good fortune is assured. Wing. Take a long look at what your conduct in the situation has achieved thus far. If you are on the right path, you will know by the good it has produced. It is time for a re-evaluation of your goals. By examining the past, you may now get a glimpse of the future. Editor. There is an affinity here with the message in the image of the superior man, discriminating between high and low, and essentially putting his house in order. If this is the only changing line, the hexagram becomes number 58, joy, which intimates that one has successfully passed a test, in which case the line is an injunction to review the situation and see what we did right. Quote from Genesis 1:31, God saw all that he had made, and indeed it was very good. James Dekorne breaks changing line 6 down into one possible succinct definition A. The work is a dynamic process which requires continuous evaluation and adjustment. Review the work, then review your options. We'll now get a randomly card-drawn verse from the Tao Te Ching, or verses, while I sum up the reading. Our primary hexagram 10, treading, or cautious advance, which James Dekorne calls it, shows somebody treading on the tail of a tiger, which is a dangerous feat. However, in I-ming theory or mythology, or what lore, in I-ming lore, if you are able to tread on the tail of the tiger successfully in the killing of the tiger, you attain the tiger's power. So it is dangerous, but potentially very beneficial. And apparently most of the changing lines are auspicious. It sounds like only 3 and 5 are inauspicious. We got changing line 3 as one of our changing lines. But we also received 1 and 4 and 6, which were auspicious. Our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Hexagram 48, the well, says that there's a well in the town. You can move the whole town, but you can't move the well. Before you set up your new town, you'll have to dig a new one to that same source. And the water level doesn't change. It all is determined on whether or not your rope is long enough to reach the water and that your bucket doesn't break. So essentially, do you have what it takes to access your inner source that sustains you and allows you to move towns or do anything? While we're on this note, something was really, really beautiful that Hilary Barrett said about our hexagram 48, the well. Yeah, in the image, she says, if you could lean over an old Chinese well and look down through the water, you would see a frame of logs at the bottom, used to retain the silty soil as it was dug. The noble one, or sage, or superior person, or chief son, the noble one is as committed and involved in the well as the frame itself. Inwardly as responsive as roots, outwardly pouring himself into the work like a flowing stream. The well is a vital shared resource. Everyone must cooperate to build and maintain it. To me, I get the idea of the deep subconscious or the deep psyche, which I think even James Dekorne has one of the titles of it being that. And it's a responsibility, I believe, of all of us to tend to the collective unconscious, as it were. And what we put in and get out of it can be a nourishing resource for us, as long as we treat it with the kind of honor it is due. Not thinking we can just get up and move and take a well with us. Our lives revolve around access to sources of nutrients for us, or sustenance, like a well can provide with its water. And when we live in a way that is dangerous, such as our primary hexagram shows treading on the tail of a tiger, wanting to gain the strength of the tiger and its power, doing something dangerous without any reference to what nourishes us and provides for all. If we don't maintain those sorts of things, then we run the risk of forgetting our source and getting involved in things that have potential benefit, but possibly only for an egotistical standpoint, from an egotistical standpoint, that don't really put back into the community or add anything to anyone else. It's like every man for himself, virtually, which it feels like in the world right now quite a bit, and has in history, obviously, in various times. When we forget our reliance and interdependence on one another and our universe and planet, the world becomes a dangerous and scary place. I think true relation to reality is essential. And it seems few and far between. Even within myself. It's like a fish in water. You don't recognize a lot of the things that you believe or think that spring out of your subconscious, and you just sort of act or get pulled along by the hunt, right? Or the goal, without thinking necessarily from a broader perspective of whether or not that's really a nourishing thing to attain, and just barreling on ahead. So our changing lines, which put a pin in the map to say you are here, or here are some places you may find yourself, they're the most focused part of the reading and take precedence over all other elements. Changing line 1 shows that at the outset, someone is, I believe, blind and lame, but they can still see from one eye and they can still hobble along a little bit. And for whatever reason, it sounds like they are able to tread on the tiger with success at the end. And then we have somebody else in line 3 who is gonna get bitten. That just is happening, apparently. And then in 4, there is I'm gonna bring out James Dekorne for this. Changing line 4 says, proceed with caution, discretion is the better part of valor. It basically says how dangerous the situation is and that it's possible to do well if we're incredibly careful. Because this is the first line in the upper trigram or outer trigram, which indicates the tail of the tiger, the actual tail. So this is apparently where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, in terms of the I Ching. And then the 6th line is you're looking at all the steps you've taken before. It's like a going over what worked and what didn't in your path. and then figuring out what to do from there, furthering the work. James Dekorne relates or breaks changing line 6 down into one succinct definition. The work is a dynamic process which requires continuous evaluation and adjustment. Review the work, then review your options. We're in a very dangerous place in history. There's a poem that I love by William Carlos Williams. It says, "So much depends upon I think it's a red wheelbarrow. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow, glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens." We each have more influence than we know. And it doesn't even have to be an influence that is external. If we each have access to this well, this collective subconscious or collective unconscious, we each have a responsibility to tend that and nurture it, not let the well become poisoned. You bring out into your exterior what's already in you. So expecting that our exterior world will change without taking any responsibility for upkeep of our own well, our own access to that deep psyche, is foolishness. There's only so long we can go through life and blame everyone else. Not to say that every single person holds all the responsibility for everything that comes before them and everything that's happening in the world currently. However, if you find yourself at any point on the tail of a tiger, there are rules of engagement that benefit you and everyone around you. The more people that tread successfully and are able to look back on their path, on the tiger's tail they've tread, they're potentially able to direct others in a successful course. So it can become like a flood that just grows. And if it's really internal work that's mostly being done, if that work is pure and true and is based on sound standards and behaviors and interrelation with each other. And what I love about the I Ching is it's all about creating like the perfect society within ourselves. It's something that if things can be orderly within, we can make them orderly without. But you can't really have orderly without when you don't have orderly within. It just comes down to punishment. And what one of the things in our reading today said is that things like that are relying on outward force, which really people can just do what they want behind closed doors anyway. It doesn't really change behavior. It doesn't change the heart. But it's not other people's responsibility to change our heart. So regardless of whether or not there's external rules or factors involved that punish us for such and such wrong, I suppose finding a stable, trustworthy guide is essential. And again, that's why I like the I Ching. I highly value its ability to put relationships in a correct framework. And that happens, we think of it externally, but you're thinking of something external which is being represented internally, or even pouring out from internal relationships going on. It's like you're going around your world building an internal world based on the world that you live in. And you interpret the world that you live in a very particular way, which could have nothing to do with the world that you actually live in. And that's, I think, the point, is that you want to be sure about things in dangerous situations. And you can only do that if you have the right tools, and if you use them the right way, and if you are careful and understand the danger in the situation. Sometimes you might get through and the tiger doesn't bite you, maybe because you're, innocent and blind and lame, but that's not something to count on. We can't count on innocently stumbling into success. That can't be the way this works well. Other than the fact that, in the I Ching and Taoism, the childlike state is highly, the idea of the enlightened sage is like the child before all of, stripping back all the way before mundane conditioning took over, and intellectualism and the human mind. But that is based on, there's both work and rest involved. That is another reason that I like the I Ching. It's the yin and yang principles at work here, at play. You have to have the correct balance. There has to be firmness within flexibility and flexibility within firmness. And that creates the balance that you use to walk on the tiger's tail, so that in the killing of the tiger, you access its power, and you are able to show others how to tread successfully in a dangerous situation, whilst also maintaining a very secure well that you have access to pure well water from, that is able to nourish you and others, and you're able to draw from it because the rope reaches, the bucket does not break, and we all get through this mess together, make it out the other side, and maybe cleanse our collective unconscious in the process. .55, we will read out of the Tao Te Ching. My copy is by Jia Fu Fang in Jing English. Got a little emotional there. That's a scary world. 55. He who is filled with virtue is like a newborn child. Wasps and serpents will not sting him. Wild beasts will not pounce upon him. He will not be attacked by birds of prey. His bones are soft, his muscles are weak, but his grip is firm. He has not experienced the union of man and woman, but is whole. His manhood is strong. He screams all day without becoming hoarse. This is perfect harmony. Knowing harmony is constancy. Knowing constancy is enlightenment. It is not wise to rush about. Controlling the breath causes strain. If too much energy is used, exhaustion follows. This is not the way of Tao. Whatever is contrary to Tao will not last long. Together. Oh, shaky. There we go. All right.